We're doing the conversation. Hey, Marcy.
Hi.
So we want to make this video. One of the big things in real estate, probably the biggest thing, is
Yeah.
what is. I like it getting closer.
I don't know. I really feel like we're kind of having a conversation today.
Okay, so
Sounds
it's
like
a conversation.
We'll look at the camera though, so you guys can look at it.
Okay, how do we
So.
determine, or how is value determined on real estate? This is really the
Well,
fund.
I always like start off, and anytime anyone asks me, I always say opinion. It's our opinion because
It is opinion, but can I back up,
yeah,
take a couple steps away?
sure.
Really, determining value is 99% of the ball game with real estate.
Exactly.
Um,
That's our direct path to the loan is the value.
yeah, so let's break it down. Let's try to give
Okay.
people how we determine value. First, let's do it on single family homes.
All right. So
Okay, so how
it
would
could
you?
be single family home. A lot of people come to us like for fix and flips. That's like the biggest request, or it's an investment property that's already leased out. So when I typically determine the value, I will research it on the internet and see what's going on. I'll look at sales in the area. I'll look at what it's being rented per square footage, and of course, what it's being sold per square footage. But we typically look at even the value on a house to see how much rent it can bring in. And then we'll figure out what the expenses are on it, the taxes, the insurance, or if there's a little maintenance. And then we'll figure out what we call an NOI, even with a single family home, to determine what the value would be.
So, yeah, I agree with that.
So
Let me
just a
break
little
it
bit of
down.
mine, but Jack has his own way too.
No, let me break it down a little bit
Sure.
differently. So single family home, remember, we're investment lenders. So
Right.
we look at it from an investment perspective. But if you're looking at a home to live in, okay, I want to start sort of there and sort of break it down.
Okay.
You can tell everyone watching, this is very well rehearsed, and we went through this a million times and we have it down
Yeah,
pat.
we just kind of
We're really just
conversation.
fudging our way through it. So on a single family home, you have to look at the property, you have to look at the comps.
Right.
As Marcy said, very important, look at the square footage and the condition. I speak to people, and I'm pretty sure you do all the time. They'll say the value is X. And then when you start to look at the comps, it's a lot smaller than the comparables.
Right.
So you have to
look
come
at
up with a price per
footage.
square footage.
Yes.
Then you'll have to add in the improvements. If this is fully improved, if it's in beautiful condition, if it's newer, or if it's an old junker, there's a difference per square foot. So you have to add that in. Ultimately, a value is what a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay for it. And we're making this today in September as rates are going up. And what's been happening is just because people still have in their mindset that values always go up, but values don't always go up.
Sometimes they're actually going to start coming down.
Yeah, I was going to say sometimes values
Yeah.
stay the same, sometimes values come down. So be aware, and we're really making this to the buyer or the real estate investor is our client. Be aware that just because a property sold for, I'm going to say $200 a square foot, doesn't mean it's worth that now, because now we're in an increasing interest rate environment, which will push values down.
Yeah.
But values, ultimately, an opinion. It's what a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay for it. Also, be very careful of comparables. What's happened the past 5-6 years, there's a lot of comparables out there who are what I call sham comparables. What people are doing sometimes is they're making up comparables. They're buying a home, they're selling it to an LLC that they control to puff up a value. So
it's not real life.
It's not real life.
No.
So be very careful. Again, you got to look at what they're selling for in the area. You got to look at
and also we tell this all the time to our borrowers that you do your due diligence. Before you're purchasing something, make sure you're checking out, the comps, looking around. I mean, don't take the word of one seller's sales price.
That's a good point. Don't depend on, a lot of times people call up and say, I got a BPO or an appraisal. No offense. The guy who's doing the BPO or the gal who's doing the BPO has his or her self-interest in mind.
Right.
They couldn't care about you, less about you. The person who's doing the appraisal, I'll give them one credit ahead, but they're doing a fee, so they don't really care about you. You need to know more than the guy or gal doing the BPO and the appraisal. So look at the price per square foot. look at the condition,
Right,
look at
and
the,
see also what the rents are in the area
yeah,
too.
so the next step
Yeah,
is let's deal with that. So,
Okay.
because there's a difference between
absolutely.
coming up with a
it just
value to
depends.
live in and
And versus
an investment.
investment.
Now we deal with the investment side.
Right.
So, okay, so on the investment side,
Yeah.
how do we value? Now go on with your,
Well, typically when I value, I'm still gonna use a single family home for investment. I'm gonna figure out what the rents are in the area and what it could be rented for. If you come to me and that property is vacant, I'm gonna do more of like in my mind a forma, what it will be rented for, what the expenses are, and what kind of loan the property can carry. Okay, so there's three things: figuring out the value, figuring out what the rent's gonna be, and figuring out what kind of loan the property can carry. Because we like all our properties to be able to carry our payment. So we call it a debt service, so that the property can withstand our loan and that the borrower doesn't have to like dig into their pockets monthly to make the payment, because then it doesn't make sense for anyone. And we'll come up with a value. And then a little bit of that comes into play too when someone comes to me and they say, oh, I got a great price on this property. I got it for this amount, but it's really worth that amount. And again, we typically go with what the market is speaking, and the market speaks for what someone will pay for a property. So that's how I do it.
you're a wealth of knowledge. Yes. So again, you take on investment, you take the income and the fair market income. Just because someone has a tenant in there that's paying $2,000 a month doesn't mean that's the fair market income.
It could be 3,000 a month.
Or it could be 1,500.
Less,
Don't
right?
be, a lot of people when they go to sell properties, they put in any bozo
Oh,
as a
yeah,
tenant.
that's true. You have to do your due diligence.
Yeah, and puff up the rent to say,
Right.
oh, it's rented out for $2,000 a month and the fair market value really is 1,500. So come up with the fair market value, add a realistic vacancy. Don't assume that every tenant's going to pay you every month. You're always going to have vacancies or evictions. It could be a physical vacancy or an economical vacancy, but factor that in. Factor in the expenses, the real estate
Yes.
taxes, the insurance.
And
A lot,
maintenance.
yeah, a lot of people don't realize that in some counties, real estate
Are
taxes,
so expensive, and it doesn't make sense then.
and they go up at time of sale.
Yeah.
So
And
factor in.
also, one more thing I wanted to say
Go,
too,
go,
this
go,
is
go.
really important. I've noticed, and I just actually looked at a deal yesterday that the property was for sale. It was a sale, and I always look up like when the last time it was sold, and it was sold a year ago for less money, and the information was exactly the same what it was a year ago. I'm talking about the rent roll, the NOI that was given to me to look at the deal. So my point is that whoever bought this property, obviously it wasn't what they thought they were going to get, because they put it on the market a year later with the same numbers and nothing changed. So my point is when you're looking at properties and you're getting information, even if you're getting a rent roll, an NOI, or whatever the case may be, look at the history of the property. Really know when it was bought, when it was sold, and what was going on, because you don't do your due diligence, you could be buying a property that was really non-successful.
What I would advise is we made a fantastic video on debt
He remembers all our videos. I don't.
I do. I can't help it. A great video on debt service coverage and how to figure out mathematically the value. We're talking abstractly, but really you need to use a spreadsheet and put the numbers in, and numbers don't lie.
Right.
And once you put the numbers
And
in,
they will not make sense.
yeah, it'll come up with a value. So I would
Yeah.
encourage everyone to get that video. It's called a debt service coverage video, how to calculate it, and come up with it, and use that. But you're right. So come up with the expenses.
Yeah.
Again, back to the expenses. Use a fair market rent, real vacancy, economic or physical vacancy.
Right.
Use them both. Use what the expenses really are going to be. Don't
And don't take the seller's word for it, especially like with taxes. Look up the taxes yourself.
Yeah,
there's a couple, like there was one deal we did where the taxes were like killed the deal. I mean,
happens all the time.
Yeah.
Also, use realistic numbers on repairs and maintenance. Don't use low numbers. The reality is
more than we think.
it's always more. The reality is it costs a fortune to replace an HVAC unit or a kitchen or whatever. Yeah. So, and just because someone says, oh, the roof is new or the roof is good or this and that, First of all, don't believe them. Most of them are full of it. But use a realistic number. And at the bottom of it, you'll come up with an NOI, and use the NOI, use an appropriate cap rate. And that's how you'll determine a value on a single family. Okay, now what about, let's move on to, strip centers,
Strip centers.
multifamilies,
Multifamilies.
more interesting properties.
So with a strip center, it's actually, you have a lot of information, which is nice.
Can I just interrupt?
Sure.
If I talk about something personal, people are going to think I'm very unprofessional.
Well, I think they already think we're both silly
Goofballs.
sometimes.
I'm looking at this and I'm realizing it's so pronounced. I have so much more hair on my face than I do on my head.
Yeah.
So I'm
you're closer to the camera
yeah.
than I
So
am.
I'm thinking two things. Then I'm thinking we just moved into a new office, and I'm thinking we need to do a little rearranging because I have a lot of pictures and a lot of other things over there.
Right.
But on the wall back here, it doesn't look like much. So okay.
We can angle the camera this
I'm
way.
sorry.
We can move the camera around the office so we can just go in different locations.
I'm sorry.
It's like,
I'm really.
What is it? Where's Aldo? What's the
I don't know.
Waldo? Or there's a book when my kids were growing up, like you had to find them in this maze. That will be us. You'll find us in our office in different places.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Back to values. We're talking about values on, let's say, a strip center, or a let's say a 20-unit apartment building.
Absolutely. And those are actually really fun to figure out.
Get our spreadsheet. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we have it on our submission form, and it's the last tab, and it's amazing.
And
so you put all the information in, and it calculates.
It'll calculate the value. And again, I think there's 2 videos on DSCRs and values using a mathematical formula. Coming up with a value should not be abstract. It should be, oh, I like this property.
No.
I like it's red or it's blue or it's this, it's that.
Suppose though, Jack, that it is still our opinion.
It's opinion. Everything's
Even
an opinion.
an appraiser is his opinion. So we use it to guide us. We guide ourselves.
Good word.
With
Okay.
the spreadsheet. So meanwhile, with a shopping center or an apartment complex, family, whatever the case might be, you know what? You get that rent roll.
Look at the comps. How is important to look at comparables?
That's so
important.
But still, get the information, get the rent roll, get the expenses on the property. If there's a management company, every expense. And then look what's going on in the market around that particular collateral.
Are rents going up? Are rents coming down? And today,
you can tell, you can see it.
Yeah,
it will be everywhere.
And today, because almost everything is online and public information,
everything on the internet.
It's so easy to come up with a value and comparables. I was joking around with someone the other day. It was actually at a social event, and
you were social? What?
My wife forces me every once in a while. I'm always social once a year.
This is as social as he gets, talking to me on these videos.
I'm always social once a year, and this is the once a year she forced me. She had a gun to my head to go to this social event. And I run into this guy.
And I'm so social.
Yes, I know, I'm antisocial. But the guy says to me, whatever we were talking, what do you do? He says, how do you lend money outside of Florida? I said, and I told this guy, I said, here's a challenge for you. I said, come up with a property, any state, any city, tell me what type of property is, tell me if it's a retail, class B, class C, what city, what state. And I said, I'll come up with a value without having any leases, any income and expense, no documents. It's the truth, because we do so many of them.
Very clever man.
No, am I right?
No, you're right. I literally I could come up with anything. I could read an email that a broker sends to me within 3 sentences. I'll be like, pass, or this is good. It makes sense.
Think about it. Let's take a strip center. Let's take a 20,000 square foot strip center.
No, what's the vacancy?
I'm going to figure.
Is it 100% or 80%? What's the vacancy?
I'm going to figure 10 or 15% vacancy. Okay. I'm going to figure the CAM is going to be, depending on if it's a Northeast state.
Define CAM for our audience.
You're right. Oh, we did a video on that too, by the way. Common area maintenance. If it's a Northeast state, you have snow removal. That adds a lot to it.
Snow. I'm from Florida, but wow,
those invoices.
I see those invoices.
I'm from Philadelphia. Snow adds to the expenses. So depending on the location, I can come up with a CAM literally in my head, and you can too, by the way. I'm a moron. I am. If I can do it, you can do it. You can come up with the CAM. You can come up with the.
It's like my encyclopedia.
No. You can come up with can't. You can come up with the expenses.
No,
You can
can't.
come up with the rent.
And honestly, we keep telling you, overcompensate for the expenses.
And you can come up with the cap rate,
Yeah.
and boom, you could do it.
And there's the value.
And again, we made another video on this. We're making another one because values are critical. And you know what? Everyone thinks you make a ton of money in real estate. And the truth is you can make a ton of money in real estate.
But you have to be really smart,
But
Dad.
you can also
I mean,
lose
a
a
lot
ton
of
of money.
Yeah.
I joined this,
Oh my, is this another social thing you did? You joined a group?
No. I'm not joining any groups. Are you kidding me? No, I don't. I was going to give the name about it, but it's a place where real estate investors post to blogs, and they post just different questions and things like
Okay.
that.
Interesting.
I just joined it. I wanted to see what was out there, and I posted a few things just for the heck of it. And you know what I learned? A lot of these people are taking courses how to buy money, how to get into real estate with no money down,
Yeah.
and a good amount of them are successsul, but the reality is the past 10 years, the economy has made every one successful.
Economy has just been
But
like,
you know what I'm learning? A lot of
people
are getting their heads handed to them on a
It's
plate
sad.
right now. They're losing a
sad.
fortune because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Because they're not listening to our videos. They should go through the whole video series.
You have to. We do have people out there that do listen, that do watch it.
A lot of people. We get calls all the time.
Every day. Thank you for that
So,
information. Blah, blah,
Go back
blah.
to values.
Values.
So where were we?
We were discussing the value on shopping center,
Oh,
multifamily,
so-
you know.
Follow the math.
Yeah.
Do it. Come up with the bottom line and be conservative. But the bottom line is, don't just say, we hear this all the time from realtors, investors. Oh, a borrower will call up and they say, oh, a realtor told me it's worth 2 million, or they got a BPO at 2 million. That means nothing. Dig into the details, every line item, and you should mathematically come up with the formula that says what that value is. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Come
It's
up with
all
the
about
formula.
the numbers. The numbers don't lie. There's
So-
nothing. Reality is, on paper.
So the short answer, we're dragging and going into all kinds
We're
of,
just like on tangents today.
yes, on tangents today. What was I going to say? Oh,
I don't
the
know.
short answer is don't come up with a value as an arbitrary number. Back into it using solid facts, numbers,
Yeah.
and mathematical formulas. Mathematical
And
formulas.
we just tell you this, and honestly, I know that like most of the brokers I deal with on a daily basis and borrowers, we're not saying no to say no. We're saying no because in a sense, I feel like we're helping you out by saying no sometimes because we're telling you that that's not a good business decision. Again, this is just our opinion. I always need to say that because it's just how we look at things.
When
we
we
use
lend
numbers.
borrowers money,
Yeah.
we're becoming their partners.
Right.
And
So we
if
want to
we-
be in a
if-
good
if-
business deal.
If we say no to them,
Yeah.
sometimes we're saving their backsides.
We are. We're looking out for you because it doesn't make sense.
Bottom line, don't believe appraisers, don't
Yeah.
believe BPOs, do your own math.
work.
And don't assume just because properties and rents have been going up that they will go up.
Keep going up. No.
Keep going up. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with your time horizon. What else did we leave off?
I think it's good. I think this was a good conversation.
I was a little hesitant to make this because we weren't prepared for it. We just
We're
Kinda shot
always
our way through.
prepared.
Yeah, we shot our way
We
through it.
get through it.
Yeah, I think you did a very good job, Ms. Marcy.
All right. Well, that's what we got for today.
Okay, remember, I gotta give a pitch. Remember, let me tell you something.
Like our YouTube videos.
If we don't do loans, we're not gonna be making these
Right.
videos. So, like our YouTube video, like our channel, ask questions. We always answer the questions.
And we always pick up the phone when we can, and I'll call you back if I.
Yes,
With
remember,
all-
we are non-bank lenders.
Yes, please
Private
remember that.
lenders. Our line is when your bank says no, we say yes. People are coming to us for usually one of two reasons. Oh yeah, our thing up there. Oh yeah, right there, right there. People are usually coming us for one of two reasons. Either they need to close quick. We just had a payoff of a deal. He bought I'm going to say a 70,000 square foot building in.
Huge shopping center. I mean,
Oh, I'm not
several
talking about that one. I'm talking about the one in Toledo. I don't want to mention the guy's name.
Yeah, no.
He bought it for, I'm going to say 2.5 million. We lent him, I don't know, 1.6 million.
Yeah,
And he just paid
paid
us
off.
off last week. He got
Right.
bank financing, but he needed us to close. He was thrilled. The other 50% of them, maybe it's a foreclosure bailout. Maybe they don't verify their income.
Right.
There's a reason they
Credit
can't.
scores low.
Credit scores low,
Yeah.
or they don't want to deal with banks. A lot of people just don't want to deal with banks. And by the way, banks right now are getting tougher.
It's like the conditions on getting commercial loan through a bank, it's becoming impossible.
Yeah.
And their rates their rates have gone up where our rates aren't looking so bad anymore. Our rates are like in the market, so
Okay, our rates were never bad. We
no.
were just
Well, they were just like,
risk
a little
adjusted.
higher than big
Of
rates.
course they're higher because they're getting the service.
Yeah.
A bank's taking 4 months to get them to close, and we
Right,
get
and
them
we
to
get it
close
closed
in a week or,
in a week,
week, 2
As
weeks.
soon as I have title, and then that's it.
What the heck was I saying?
That's it. We're trying to say goodbye.
Oh, so remember, if you need non-bank financing, private lender, we also do note-on-note financing. We just made another video how we lent money on an LP or a GP interest, anything real estate related, investment
Run it
real
by
estate.
us. Yeah, run it by us. You never know.
Call Marcy 561-221-0900. I always forget that. It's a mind block. Check us out at geltfinancial.com. Most important, have a fantastic day.
Take care.
Life is flying by, and I want everyone to enjoy the day. And
Absolutely.
check out our other videos on use the math. Because you know what? Because I
You're
laid it.
probably like, is this ever
Well,
gonna
you
end?
know why you don't remember? Because I remember.
I don't
I remember. I did it. I forget. It was one holiday. I was home, and I took the spreadsheet and I did it line by line
I
with the
was
people.
not there.
No, you weren't. You
No,
weren't. I'm sorry.
no, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's all
Okay.
right.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.